Hi, I'm Addie.
I'm Jensen.
Sorry. And we're with the Santa Barbara Middle School Team Press here with
Jane. PEROW.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So, you have said that your goal is to make the invisible visible through design and media.
Okay.
What is an issue that you believe still needs to be made visible, not in the United States, but around the world?
Wow. Well, that would be equity. So the disparity between the wealth and the access to resources and services and ways of living a safe and life that has access to what people need. So disparity, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have any ideas on how to start to attack that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to do with building awareness around the issues, but it also has to do with people in local communities being empowered in making their local communities able to be the way they would like to live, so that the outside world isn't imposing how their communities are made and what they have access to, but that people have better access to different types of resources. And so a lot of that has to do with actual political and economic power structures. And so, through design, through political process, through empowerment, through awareness building, through communication, hopefully we can all start to address that. But it has to be a collective effort. There's no one, there's one more thing. There's no one solution. Everything is so interconnected and so complex. No one organization, no one person, no one anything can change anything now. So the change has to happen in a very collective and integrated way. So we can't think about one thing in isolation of anything else. So in other words, education for young women has to be tied to drinking water and roads, and everything is interconnected to everything else. And if we don't approach it that way, then we're going to have a lot of trouble solving a lot of the problems.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Definitely.
All right. So we learned that at Parsons you focus a lot on collaborative and interdisciplinary work.
Yeah.
So as students ourselves, we work on mini group projects at school and such.
Okay.
And what advice do you have for creating a successful group and working in a group environment?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, right? It's almost a whole science in and of itself, teamwork and collaboration. But a few things are really understanding the power dynamics of the team and understanding what the process of the team is. So as the team works together, the more and more the people on the team can build trust and to actually understand how they work together. So it's like you're working together, but at the same time you need to be having conversations about how you're working together. So there's a meta level of it. And the more and more people negotiate and work out the processes of working together, they'll be able to better work together.
And so also, the Not for Tourists project is designed to bring light to hidden phenomenon.
Sure.
So through this project, have you discovered anything about yourself, any hidden phenomenon?
Wow, you guys ask tough questions on the fly here. Yes, actually, so that is a project in and of itself. I've always approached my life as an artist and as a designer and an educator. And in doing that project, I had to learn about myself as a manager and an entrepreneur and a business person. And so I had to completely learn a whole new way of being to do that project because it was such a large-scale project. So I had to completely redefine my identity. And I actually ended up going to grad school and studying management because I had to learn how to be a different way in the world to do that project. So, and a million other things.
Yeah.
It's been it's a project that was started in 1998, so it's been with me for a very long time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So then, I read that the Urban Bike Studio looks at the bicycle in relation to activism, community building, sustainability, and urban design.
Yep.
So what is the design that came about through this project that you wish could be implemented worldwide?
Okay. Well, there's a few different things that have happened with that project. So many projects were done within that studio. And one of the really interesting things that came from it is this idea of everybody being a designer. So in addition to all of the cool projects that would be great to figure out a way of scaling them and distributing them more broadly, so like for instance, sustainable bike packaging just for the industry, and also this idea of using the bicycle as a way of educating people around issues. So there was a project called Dino Bikes that helped educate people about energy usage. So you learned what kinetic energy it took to light a light bulb, what kinetic, so all of these really cool things. But on the meta level, this idea that everybody is actually a designer. We all make the world. And if we don't think about design as capital D expert, but we think about design as little d everyday experience, and then we all embrace the idea that we're all making decisions that ultimately create our world, and we can use things like we can design everything around this idea of urban mobility, and that's through walking, bicycling, smarter, because some things are just impractical without this wonderful invention of the cargo truck and stuff like that. But how do we use them all together very strategically to maximize our resources? There's a guy. This is a really cool guy for you guys to look into.
Yeah, definitely.
His name was Buckminster Fuller. And he had something like, I don't know, don't quote me on this number. So he had like 500 patents in the course of his life.
Yeah.
Like he invented the geodesic dome, the Dymaxion, which was like this 3-wheeled car, like genius guy. But his thing was he created this idea of anticipatory design science where everything we do, we try to maximize the resources we use to the greatest effect for the most people. And it's a really brilliant way about thinking about how we approach the world. Is like, how do we do everything in the most maximal way of using our resources to benefit the most people at all times? And so that's the kind of stuff that, like, the overarching themes of the classes that then get into the detail of the specific projects themselves.
Wow, thank you so much.
He's a cool guy.
That's amazing.
You're welcome. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, and I have one more question, kind of off the top of my head, but
Go ahead.
I was wondering, when did you first become like so intrigued and so like amazed with design and like the whole idea of like interconnected web of the world? Like, have you been this way your whole childhood?
I think my brain works this way. Like, I'm interested in absolutely everything and anything. And I think my brain, so this Bucky Fuller guy, he has a word called, so you know that whole jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah.
That's a very, like, it makes people who aren't specific experts feel kind of not good. Because it's kind of like,
kind of
you don't know
derogatory.
anything. It's like nobody really knows anything.
Yeah.
But he has a term, comprehensivist, which means to really understand not the things themselves, but the things themselves in relationship to every other thing, because everything's related to everything else. And I think that's just how my brain naturally works. But as I became more and more comfortable with my brain, I started to find ways of channeling that, So, and design is a great way to make a living because design is and can be applied to absolutely everything. So again, if you're a person interested in everything, this is the thing that allows you to be interested in everything, because you can be a designer that, if you do graphic design, well, you can do graphic design for anything. If you're film and video, you guys are documentarians, you can do a documentary about everything or anything. And that's really interesting because you get a very broad perspective of the world and you can start to see how things connect. So... A little bit of a rambling
that's
answer,
good.
That was great.
It's hard to do it on the fly.
Awesome.
Cool.
great.
Thanks,
Thank
you
you
guys.
so much.
Yeah,
Good
thank you so
job.
much.
Like, you
Thank you.
guys are awesome. I'm so glad you